discussion that will be led by Richard Lays, as well as Fahmida Shabnam. I'd like to welcome Fahmida to the stage, Education Advisor of DFID. I would also like to invite the discussants in the panel to come on stage. And while they're taking their seat, so before starting this panel discussion, I would like to welcome Mr. Mohammed Imran, Director MEW from DPE. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. And also Mr. Enamul, Haque, Director Finance, DPE. Richard and Fahmida, the floor is yours.
Okay, there's hundreds of us. This is going to be fun. So I'm going to start with, so you know who everybody is. We have first up on my right, Mr. Shajahan Miah, I'm sorry if I've got that wrong, who's the Director General of the Directorate of Technical Education under the Ministry of Education. Correct? Excellent. Then we have Alison, Barrett, who's Director English for Education Systems. That sounds like a fun job at the British Council. Ronda, you met this morning from the GSMA. Then we have Shazia Ahmed, Head of Advocacy for Shiree, which is a project here in Bangladesh working with the extreme poor, funded by DFID. Then we have Khalida Ikram, who's the Vice Chancellor at BUET, Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, one of the leading engineering universities in Bangladesh, maybe the leading engineering university in Bangladesh, I would say. Luna Shamsuddoha, have I got that right? Yes, President of Bangladesh Women in Technology. Next to her, Suparna Roy from the Government Access to Information Programme. And then two people who I've never met before, who you might have to quickly introduce yourselves, I'm afraid.
I am Mohammed Imran, working as a Director of Monitoring and Evaluation under Ministry of Primary and Math Education in the Department of Primary Education.
Excellent. Very welcome. Thank you for coming.
Welcome. I'm Enamul Haque. I'm working as Director of Finance at Directorate of Primary Education under Ministry of Primary and Maths Education. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're all very welcome. Thank you for coming. Apologies if we interrupt you a little bit because we might have to rush through. And Fahmi, I forgot you. Fahmida Shabnam is Education Advisor at DFID, who's going to be co-moderating with me this afternoon. We've heard a lot today about some of the successes, some of the really good examples of practice that have gone very well. And what we hope to do in the next hour is to drill a little bit more into the challenges that are still left to solve. So despite all this good practice and these really good examples that we've heard about, what's left? What are the barriers? What are the challenges that we still need to overcome? And how might we be able to start doing that, particularly in a room where we have representatives of government and NGOs and civil society and academia all together. It's a good opportunity. So I'll start by asking the panel, maybe just for 1 or 2 minutes, to give an example of a challenge that they think is still apparent, ideally something they've got some personal experience of. So perhaps we'll go in order, and we'll start with you, sir. A challenge that you think we still need to look at.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to mention some challenges that we are facing now. In 2010, we have introduced online admission test for women in Tibet institutions. We see the mobility is the major challenges, because some of our female students, they are from northern part of country, applied for education. Sometimes they used to get admission at Chittagong or northern part or southern part. But at this moment, the Tibet institutions has not sufficient accommodation facilities. So we see, due to lack of accommodation facilities, some of our women's students left the education. So we are thinking We are going to establish more female hostels of our each Tibetan institutions. I think in near future we'll be able to overcome these barriers. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice and succinct. Thank you very much. Do you want to pass the microphone along? Alison, let's hear from you.
I'm going to just briefly refer to a challenge that we're facing in India. I'm based in India. It's the country I know best in the region. We've been holding a series of think tanks over the last year.
Excuse me, can we just have 2 minutes of recess? The Honourable Minister of Education just came in. So can we please all stand up for a sec and give him a hand of applause? Thank you so much, sir, for coming. Okay, please continue.
Thank you. We've been holding a series of English skills for employability think tank meetings in India with representatives from industry, government, and academia, talking about some of the challenges around English language and employment opportunities. And one of the interesting barriers that's emerged from that has been around the setting of benchmarks and standards for access to employment. And what we're finding, or what colleagues of ours from UK assessment bodies particularly are finding, is that employers are sometimes setting the English language benchmark for vocational roles in the country, in India, at a level that sometimes prevents women or girls from accessing those opportunities. Often their language learning levels, as evidenced through research by Young Lives, for example, means that the girls' learning levels are much lower than boys. So I think what we're looking at is trying to advocate for more pro-equity approaches to standard setting to help encourage more girls to gain access to those employment opportunities.
Great. Thank you very much. Ronda.
All right. Is mine? No, maybe not. Yeah, so I spoke a lot this morning, but I think the irony in all of this, in terms of the barriers to accessing education technology, is actually education. But when I say that, I mean in the sense of awareness. So Kenya is very famous worldwide for a number of mobile initiatives, including those involving mobile learning. But if you ask the average person about anything related to mobile learning, they have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. And so I think, once, I raised awareness about, in this case, World Reader, they told their friends, they told anyone who would listen, because it was something that was very meaningful to them. And so for me, I think I loved hearing about the work that BRAC and the British Council are doing with the ITA clubs, because I think providing girls that opportunity where they have a safe space, which is what I did in my own research, created a safe space where they're not going to be laughed at or made fun of because of their lack of awareness, and then helping them build that awareness, that confidence, to then be able to not only access the technology, but master it and to use it for their own purposes. So for me, a lack of awareness is probably the biggest barrier, because the other things such as literacy, language level, can be overcome through technology and other means. Thank you.
Great. Hello, good morning, good afternoon-ish. I'm Shazia Omar. So I work at Shiree, which is the economic empowerment of the poorest. We work with 1 million extremely poor people. So in terms of barriers for girls to get access to education or technology-based education, from my perspective, the biggest barrier is poverty. So I'm representing about 25 million people who are extremely poor in Bangladesh. That's about 8 million youths. Maybe about half of that are girls. What we find among the extreme poor is that there's many more women. On the national average is 10% female-headed households, but among the extreme poor, the average is around 30 to 35%. Because what happens is the more able-bodied men leave the families when they're unable to cope with the stress of poverty, And so these women who were married at very young ages as child brides, who have no skills and no education, are left looking after the children. So not only is it difficult for them to send their daughters to school, and they don't necessarily have the affordability to it, another problem is even if these kids make it to school, they really quickly need to be able to earn their own livelihood. So making it to grade 10, learning how to use a computer, but then not having an option to work as a result of that effort makes it impossible for them to continue at school. So what I would really like to see is modules using technology to teach girls with an end in sight. So, more like vocational skills training, or some way that they can get a job based on this learning that they do, so that they can earn a living off of it. Then they would be motivated and more capable of taking these options. Thank you.
Well, from our university, about 18, 19 years back, there was a survey done, questionnaire survey done, on the barriers that women face in technical education. We found out that majority of the guardian as well as student thought that engineering education is mostly physical work, which is not right. It's mostly brain work and then some physical work. And the guardians especially, they felt that technical education is very expensive, but in our university, especially for the programs like BBC Janana and then the one English and ICT for adolescents, I'll say, in our university, there are lots of scholarships, grants available. So if they get admitted, they can avail it. And another challenge that I would like to mention is often women, when they go to interview, they face a couple of embarrassing questions, because in an interview, I was an external member, and one of my students was asked, if you get married, will your husband allow you to work? But we don't ask this sort of questions to a man. But she was very smart, and she said, I will marry someone who would give me that kind of exposure so that I can continue my profession. And in another case, I heard from one of my students that in an interview, she was asked, it was a multinational corporation, maybe, I don't remember. She was asked if she could climb up the ladder that was right outside the window. And she said, if the male engineers can do it, I think I can also do it. So we should be very prepared. We should prepare ourselves before we go to an interview so that we can give correct and right answers. Okay, thank you very much.
I am in the technology space. I run an IT company for over 20 years now, working overseas, outsourcing. And my biggest challenge is getting more women into the technology space. I would like to see more women. I would like to hire more women. Women are not coming in studying sciences. That is a big challenge for us. And the biggest worry is that the job market is being, the trend now is the new technology trend is going to drive the job market. Where do we fill this if you don't have more women in the technology space? I hire from Buet, I hire from Dhaka University, computer science graduates. And unfortunately, women don't study sciences as much as they should. They don't lack skills. The other challenge I have is telling people that women are not half wise. They don't have half brains either. They are exceptionally smart when you hire them, when they're working. And we need to probably engage more women, to campaign for more women, offer more scholarships, to get more women into the higher education. And the space, the jobs that will drive the industry, any industry, is technology. And unfortunately, we don't see more women there. And that is what I feel we should address. Yes, we need to start at the bottom, but we also need to look at the upwards, the tertiary level as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Suparna from HY program. I want to share one of the important initiatives that have been driven by Minister of Education and also from A2I program of Prime Minister Office. Basically to make more effective and teaching and learning process in the classroom, so A2I program and Minister of Education have established multimedia classrooms in 25,000 schools. And when we're saying that we have already trained 40,000 teachers in this school, and we have found only 10,000 teachers are female. But if we compare with the percentage of female teachers, we have seen 59% teachers, female teachers in the primary school, and only 29% in the higher secondary or secondary schools. But the barrier that we have seen, that when we are conducting training to the schools for developing skill development training, for developing contents and uploading in the websites and sharing with with other teachers, then we have found female teachers are not coming, or they are not so much interested to in this training. But when they embrace the new technology, and we've seen when they're trained and they embrace the new technology to develop the multimedia contents and to use these contents in the classroom, they're doing good, and they're doing very better if we compare with the male teachers. Because we have seen one of our teachers' portal, this is the content portal, primary, secondary, and higher secondary school teachers are contributing and developing the contents and uploading in this web portal. And one of our mechanisms is to reward the best content developer in each week. Then we have found the female teachers are best content developer in each week and out of the 3. So this is the example that we want to show. They are getting afraid to embrace the new technology, and this is the one thing. And the other thing is, when the teacher or the management committee have decided to set the female teachers to conduct the training, then they are preferring the male teachers. So I think that should be take an important lesson for us. Then we have said, okay, the training session should be equal, or 50 or 30% from female teachers should be attended in this training. Thank you.
Honorable Ministers, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Sir, I am Imran, working as Director Monitoring and Evaluation, Directorate of Primary Education. Today's issues are 3 main issues, that is education, technology, and women. To me, I understand that there is a positive correlation among these 3 important parameters. From my practical experience, when I visit the schools, as you know that under Director of Primary Education, now around more than 60,000 schools under Director of Primary Education directly controlled, and beside that there are other primary schools. And there are about more than 400,000 teachers, and out of them almost 70% are female. So the subject is very related, I think, here. And when we visit the schools, we find that that when I ask, because I sometimes visit, I ask that can you explain your self-introduction even, then I find that they feel very shy. Then I ask what is the reason. Because they are not working in English environment. That is, they had very little practicing scope in the class, though we provide a subject-based training on English, but actually after having the training, they could not exercise in the classroom. Then we compared, because for last 2 years, we are observing that English in actions, they also giving some sorts of aids, and they are giving some sorts of training. Then we see the variations. The variations that in English in actions, because they are using some technological device, which actually result that they are more coming forward. Now we are getting the differentiations from those who have not English in action practicing, not English in action trained teachers, and the English in actions trained teachers. And more in our department or directorate, we are thinking that is why we are thinking to changes our methodology, subject-based training, so that we can also introduce technology or equipments in our training modules, so that they can, at least they can do in the classroom practices. So this story just I'd like to share, and my colleagues is here, probably he can add more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. What I personally feel, the other day, a few days back, we got a result of ACC exam. And if I'm not wrong, the statistics says girl students did well comparing to male students. So what's the next? Next is they would have to face the competition for admission, and the winning candidates obviously would come to different professions and services in the country. So question comes about their competence. I believe there is one barrier still remaining in our society. It's the mindset. Still we feel our lady colleagues would not be equally competent like a male colleague. And we do not want to give them chances for bringing them to a qualitative standard. So, and it starts from the community level. It's not only, it doesn't prevail not only in our office premises, but also it starts from the community level. I personally found, while I visited few schools or male students, whenever they are encouraged to practice what they receive from the school or from their teachers, they are not inspired in the community and again in the house. Sometimes they do not get that environment. So from the childhood, they have got some deficiencies in confidence. So, and it continues. Even if we just talk about the technology, use of technologies. So this time, or a few years back, we started that they will have to apply using mobile. So if they are not conversant with all these devices, all this system, obviously they would not be able to show their competence at the top. So these are the barriers still we have overall in the society. So I believe if we can address these issues, and moreover, there is another one issue, what I personally feel, our lady colleagues, yes, they usually give time for family even, not only for the career or profession. So we'll have to look at it, at this issue well, so they can be very convenient in their professional aspect, so that they can also put some labor, some time to their family affairs, and it should be a little bit comfortable for them. So policy-wise, we'll have to think that issue as well. Thank you very much.
Okay. Fahmi, do you want to kick off with a few thoughts?
I will probably need a mic. I don't know if everyone can hear. No, thank you. I think that was a great discussion. I think we kind of like covered the whole spectrum of education, starting from primary to the higher education, like to BUET in technical education. And also we talked about like all spheres of the society, starting from the most poor and vulnerable to those who are actually fortunate enough to reach the higher education sector and the challenges amongst those. And I would actually like to target my, like maybe question to my government colleagues, is that being within the system, and like what kind of perhaps recommendation you would come up with that we can take forward that is coming out from this policy seminar that we have been discussing for today and yesterday. So, and also based on our discussion from this morning, what would be your recommendation based on the positions, the experience and the expertise, and also the exposure you have had with your students, with the colleagues that you have worked with? So I'd be interested to perhaps hear your views.
Anyone like to go first? Any comment?
Honorable Education Minister, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, first of all, we need our teachers training in English, and English in Action already started giving the training of our teachers, and we are very happy to see the progress of this training. I think we need this type of training more for our teachers as well as our students also. And regarding the technology, we have introduced ICT in our 49 polytechnic institutes. And computing is compulsory for all students. So I think our students will be able to utilize this sort of technology, and they will be benefited. And we have planned to introduce ICT program for all of our technical school and college. At this moment, we have 64 technical school and college, and we are going to establish 100 technical schools at Upazila level, and we are considering computing and English will be one of the major subjects. Thank you.
Gentlemen, other government representatives with us, would you like to join in that conversation?
Thank you once again. Government intervention is a continuous process. Right from day one and till to date, all sorts of measures are being taken to prepare a student as a competent one and a skilled one. Because Honorable VC, she also mentioned, well, preparing students so that they can take a platform in the service sectors. So primary education, you all know, that's the foundation of each and every student. So we are really concerned about that area. We are putting all our efforts so that we can make themselves a competent one. Education, what I personally feel, is a lifelong learning issue. It is basically to conceive some aspects and then retain and then share. So, to this process, we are taking measures. We are providing training to our teachers in subject-oriented issues as well as in support technological aspects. So that, because it's not only in the national market, we are also trying to prepare our students for international markets as well. So, in all phases, primary, secondary, and higher secondary, government, particularly our Honorable Minister is here. Honorable Minister took a very remarkable, notable initiative and could formulate Education Policy 2010, where these are all integrated. So I believe government is really taking very positive initiatives to prepare women, mostly all children, and special attention has been given because it has been recognized nationally and internationally. In all international reports, you would find Bangladesh is a pioneer that could address women community for their empowerment. So I believe the government is in the right track. Thank you very much.
Please. No compulsion. If you'd rather pass, it's fine.
Thank you. Just to be very brief and specific, I should say that because the importance of English is not to be mentioned. Because obviously, as I have seen that it makes us smarter, self-confidence, etc. And that is why from our Directorate of Primary Educations, we are encouraging students the subject of English vis-a-vis the version, English version, because if you look into the PEC, that is the Primary Education Completion Examination, we hardly find that the number, it is around only 20 or 30,000 out of 2,900,000. So this is one of the way we can encourage the students for English versions. Even we can consider it because we identified some model school in every Upazila, at least we can segregate some students for English versions. This is one of the options. Another option is that how can we introduce the technology? That is the device, the technology. Presently, what we are doing, that is we are providing some laptop in each school. It is our plan. Already we have provided under, you know that we have a big program that is PDP-3, that is Primary Education Development Program. Under that program, we are expecting all the schools, that is earlier that was GPS, that is government primary, now nationalized primary school also came into the board. So we have a plan to provide at least one laptop in each school so that teacher can provide their teaching through digital content. As our vision is that by 2021, I would like to see our country would be the middle income country and digital Bangladesh we are expecting. That is why the incorporation of the technology is very important in this scenario. I think so, and that is why it should have a, because I see that lots of organizations came forward for this workshop. I think we have to think about as to how we can consolidate and coordinate through a holistic manner so that we can improve our learning through that is what I tried to mention, that so that our younger generation can have access for English and they can contribute in the employment sector as a value-added manner. Thank you.
Okay. Before we move on to... Yeah, please.
What I felt is this, during the programs that you have, you please disseminate information on technology, technical education, and its compatibility to women, how compatible it is to women. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. We can broaden it out a little bit, and I'm sure the rest of the panel also have some policy suggestions. But one of the things that occurs to me is we're talking a little bit in some places about supply. So we're talking about, have we got accommodation for students? Yeah, we're talking about, have we got the right sort of courses for the particular group of people that Shiree is working with? But at the same time, I'm hearing, actually, we've got quite a lot of stuff. We just need to increase demand for it. We need more awareness. Yeah? Yes. We need more people to choose to study engineering and technology subjects. And so I'm in a little bit of confusion. And this is a policy seminar. Policy is about choices. Is what we need more specific services aimed at particular groups of people, or do they already exist, we just need to make people use them? And you might want to talk about other policy suggestions you have as well, but that's what's coming out for me. So perhaps people who haven't yet had the chance with the Honourable Minister in the room to make their suggestion would be like to weigh in on that.
Since I have the mic,
Yeah,
I'll take
please.
this advantage.
Yeah.
I am from the private sector, and we do take, the intake is from us. The jobs are ready. You see, I would really like to say this over and over again. Women are not, they're exceptionally talented when it comes to the IT. We do hardcore development but then what the other companies are doing is also taking in more and more people with technology. And what I would like to really emphasize here on is girls need, not girls need technology or education and all that, but technology need girls right now. The way the trends are, you know, with mobile computing and with hand devices, which is now so common. And it is not rocket science, or it is not something that we can't do. But I would really like to stress here that women who work in the industry are exceptionally talented. They have computational skills. They have, I mean, our brains are not half for doing needlework and half for and 1/10 for doing computing work. But I would, of course, like to talk from the higher end. Other thing, of course, the policies, as you're saying, we would like to see more women coming into the technology space. This is the best possible career for them. And we've been talking about it from both from the private sector, and also the government is doing phenomenal now with the LICT project in Ministry of ICT. They're going to train 30,000 women in higher, IT jobs are going to be created, and 30,000 of these people are going to be trained, and 1/3 women. So we are hoping in 5 years down the line, 10,000 workforce women will be able to join the workforce. The government has actually come up with very, very good programs, and the Digital Bangladesh has been, for me, who's been in this industry for many years, with whatever said and done, you know, we are a country of 160 million, 80 million young people from 18 and above are numbers are, you know, counting and rising. And where do jobs come in? And the trends that we see is that we need to bring more women into this sector. We need to see more women in the job market, and we need to see more and more women in the career that they take up in technology. And the policies have to be gender sensitive to this. You see, we need to see a campaign for women to join sciences. And with, you know, I mean, Professor Khalida here is an example, you know, where we are today. Thank you so much.
I want to share that the most remarkable initiative by the Bangladesh government, that is in the primary sector of the women engagement, that is the government has set the quota system for the primary education that is 60% for female teachers and 40% male teachers that have been recruited by the primary education. And in the secondary education, that the quota system have been set for women actually 40%. And the 60%. But my question is, our Honorable Minister here. So we have 59% teachers, female teachers in the primary education, but the scenario of the secondary school teachers is very poor. We have only 29% female teachers. If the government has set the quota system for the women. And this is the one thing. And other thing is, if we set any criteria to recruitment policy about the teaching, to set ICT basic knowledges. If the teachers have the basic ICT knowledges, then the students will be important. Students will get the added advantage from the school teaching. So I think this can be issues that we have been mentioned.
Great, thank you. Shazia, do you want to add, or do you have something else
May
to
I
say?
say something again? Sorry. When it comes to employment, we have seen that in government sector, in public sector, the number of jobs are less. But in the private sector, there are there's more openings for employment, especially in technical side. But in a private sector, they really don't have that kind of strict rules and regulation that facilitates women's employment there. Like maternity leave in many industries, they really don't want to follow the government rules and regulation. And when it comes to the question of picking up and dropping the women at night, especially in industry, it's not done. So that is one area where I would like to say that it should be seen that in private sector also, women who are in technical profession, they get similar facilities as the people in the public sector getting. Okay, thank you.
I want to add a few points. I thought it was interesting what you mentioned, the demand and the supply and where's the gap. And I think we find this across, even when we're talking about training for garment sector, we found that they want skilled labor, but there's millions of people without jobs, but they don't have the right skills. So especially when we're talking about training in terms of ICT, and if it's more specifically vocational skills training or basic skills for ICT, I'd love to see more public-private partnerships where the training caters to the needs of the employers and jobs are guaranteed so that the expenditure on training can be justified by a job at the end of the day. And possibly these private sector companies could direct their CSR funds and things like that to cover the training costs. Another section that I feel is getting missed out a little bit here, these adolescent girls who are getting married very young and dropping out of school or becoming child brides, having children, are then being abandoned. So there's millions and millions of women with young children who have no skills and are now ready to re-enter the job force if possible, if there was scope to support their child. If we could have some programs that could enable them to work with ICT, that also gave them a chance to have daycare, I think we could engage a large number of people in the labor force who are otherwise left without opportunities. And just one last point, disabled people have a great opportunity here because you don't need physical labor to actually work with technology. And among the extreme poor, disability is really high. And not only is the disabled child at an disadvantage, but a disabled child's mom also becomes disadvantaged because in most of the cases we find that they get abandoned as soon as the child is found to be disabled. So again, if we could link up mother-child learning situations like Ronda was talking about, where they could both maybe go to training institutions and pick up skills where they could work, I think that would also cater to a large number of citizens in Bangladesh. Thanks.
Speaking as another representative from the private sector, I really enjoyed the discussions of the women before me talking about some of the employment challenges. And being here representing the mobile industry, I can say, for example, in my office place, we do have a lot of women, but not many of them are in roles like I am, working directly with mobile technology. There's secretaries and things of that nature, which, not to diminish, but even the mobile industry itself has a problem recruiting women to its ranks. And one of the initiatives that the GSMA has launched is a program called Connected Women, where we're hoping to address this big challenge. And I mean, many of the problems that you mentioned here in Bangladesh with women in employment in the technology sector are not special to Bangladesh, because in the US we have the same issue with challenges for maternity leave. In the US we only get 3 months or less, if we're lucky for that. But also, just a big problem recently within the past year, the major tech companies like Facebook, Google, Twitter have all released kind of their diversity statistics, and it's embarrassing that women are some of the top consumers of these various technology companies, but generally make up only 24% or less of the workforce, not to mention the lack of racial diversity. So for me, another example of this was I published a newsletter about gender and mobile news, and this summer Instagram, which I'm hoping most people are familiar with, just hired its first female engineer. And for me, this is so weird because they're creating products and marketing primarily to women, but women aren't the ones on the other side of the things, coding, designing, creating, and I think that that is a huge problem. And like some of my colleagues before just suggested, I think we can do more as an industry to change that, and the GSMA is doing quite a bit in this area. And actually, a program that I'm presently building within the company will be looking at employment and how we can get more people into technology, but also more women and girls.
Great.
Please.
Just add a point, just to emphasize. I think what we're talking about is a need for a connection between employers and school. And I think research shows that if girls have access to information about the kind of opportunities that there are, that they're more likely, while they're still at school, they're more likely to gain the motivation and to think through the kind of skills that they need when they leave school. And I think that the ITA project here that we're now trying to replicate in South India with partners in Tamil Nadu is providing that kind of connection. It's helping young girls understand how they can use English and ICT skills to kind of gain those employment opportunities. But also I wanted to say about the role model aspect and how important it is for us when we're developing materials and resources for these girls to consume, that we're actually fronting women in roles in those resources in the materials and thinking about our pedagogy that helps reinforce that and bringing out some of the issues in the content as well.
I'd like to mention.
I would love to have a question
from the floor.
30 seconds, sir, if you don't mind.
Yes. For enhancing the female participation in Tibet, recently our Honorable Education Minister approved quota from 10% to 20%. And a couple of years back, the enrollment of female students in our Tibet system, it was only 12%. Now it raised from 12 to 24%. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think that was an excellent discussion. I'm so kind of like we are crunching out of time. The key themes coming out of the discussion here, it seems like we are talking about affordability, accessibility, availability, awareness, compatibility, demand, supply, and competency, etc. But may I kind of like open the floor for maybe one question to ask the panelists here, and I apologize for the time.
A burning question from somebody.
Maybe we could take a question from the minister.
Anybody?
With due respect to the Honorable Education Minister, my question to everybody here, how to institutionalize all these programs? Institutionalize, mainstreaming, etc., including the very notable English in Action program, plus others. How to institutionalize and mainstream?
Well, it's a very important issue for us. One thing I want to share again, a few days back, our Honorable Prime Minister received an award from UNESCO. You might be knowing it, and our Honorable Education Minister and Minister for Primary and Mass Education, they all were present. And it is recognized. Our girls are getting opportunities for education and also technology-based education. And you know, our government has got a vision, Digital Bangladesh 2020, and as well as 2041, we are hoping that we would be included one of the countries as a developed countries. So government is taking measures, plan of actions to integrate all these issues. Because if we want to step in as a middle income country. So obviously the commercial activities will accelerate. And to face all these challenges, government is taking to make all these activities as an institutional one. And again, English nowadays not only a language, English has become the means for communication as a member of the globe. So government also thinking that yes, we'll have to come up to a standard so that our people can compete with that, can face all the challenges. And Honorable Prime Minister, in presence of our Honorable Ministers, declared government would provide emphasis, importance, so that we can integrate all these issues, both public and private. And hopefully, Honorable Minister also at the closing session declared one issue, well, we'll try to sit together so that we can improve the situation furthermore. So I believe the way he is asking, or whatever you felt as a concern, how we would be able to institutionalize our efforts, I believe it will give a picture of that. Thank you very much.
Just to supplement one thing, probably his question is as to how we mainstreaming the English in Action programs in our main activities. Probably this is the questions. Actually, from DP, that is Director Primary, we are planning to mainstreaming English in Action to our national program. That is, and because English in Action will be end on 2017, but the way of teaching or learning, it will be continued until the art is here. So there is a plan, and there is also midterm review already took place, where it was decided that English in Action will will join in mainstreaming, that is in our regular program. Thank you.
Thank you. We have to stop, but I just want Ronda to talk to us for 30 seconds about an amazing example of where something has been mainstreamed. Maybe that's impossible. I don't know. Have you got any examples from outside Bangladesh of where a project has become mainstream? Just for 30 seconds before we finish.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add another way to institutionalize is through multi-stakeholder partnerships. And so I think one fine example is actually the work that BRAC and the British Council are going to do here in Bangladesh with Robi. But the project that I worked on, and I mentioned earlier in the Philippines, that's a multi-stakeholder partnership with civil society organizations, 2 government agencies, as well as all of the mobile network operators in the country, because government is amazing, but it can't do it alone. Private sector is amazing, but they also have shareholders, so they can't do it alone. And civil society doesn't have unlimited resources. So I think we need to stress that, each party brings their own strengths to the table, and if we want it to be sustainable and institutionalized, as Masuda mentioned earlier, it needs, multiple people doing multiple things. More hands make a lighter load.
Great. What a nice way to finish. Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry you didn't all get to speak as much as we would have liked to have heard from you, but thank you for your insights, thank you for your time, thank you for your question, and we'll move on. Thank you very much.